everyone out there. Welcome to Solve It Out. This is Annie here, and today's project is on how to build a text editor on Next.js 14. Here you can see this is a notes speaker app where I can write notes here and add it, and the notes will get displayed just below this text editor. The main focus of this project is how to create this text editor and use it with Next.js. Let me show you a quick demo of this text editor. So I can write something on it, like maybe solve it out. Also, I can copy and paste something. Let me copy this to paragraph and paste it in the next line. Now let me do some changes. Like for this one, I want it to be bold. For the next line, I want it to be italic. The next, I wanted this to be underlined. For this part, I wanted this to be right text. For this much part, I want it to be bullet point here. Here, I don't want the bullet point for the next part. This one, I want it to be the ordered list. I click this one. Okay, ordered list is created. Now a small part I want to create as my block quote. I can select it here, you can see. And a small part here, I want to make it a code here. So yeah, these are the changes that you can do. You can undo it, redo it. And now let me add this note here. If I add it and I refresh it, on refresh you can see our note is added. For this display of the note, I am not using any backend. The note is getting stored in the local storage. As I said earlier, the main focus of this project is how to build this text editor and display it like we have selected the styles, how we have selected during writing the note, and while displaying the note, it should maintain the same style. The main focus of this project is to build the text editor and also to parse the HTML code. So, what's we are waiting for? Let's jump on to the code. I have installed the Next.js along with TypeScript and Tailwind CSS. This is my package.json. You can check it out. That the TypeScript, the Tailwind CSS, and the Next 14.1.1 is our project configuration. Now here I have made some changes, like in the main page.tsx inside app, I have removed the code and have maintained a simple class name, a background of slate, or you can say black almost, a min height of screen width full and padding bottom 10. This much with this much CSS style. I have just written out solve it out here for the main page. Here I have created a component folder where I have written out the four components that we are going to use. One is the note picker, the notes, the Tiptap, and the toolbar. So these four components we are going to use. So I have predefined it and just written out the name here. So our folder structure is ready. So let me now run the project. You can see this is the solve it out here written. Now we are going to discuss about the Tiptap editor. Now this is the editor which we will be using in our Next.js code. So this is quite widely used editor, and let us go to the docs of this editor tiptap.dev. Here if we go to the getting started, we can see here a bunch of text tags it can be used in. So we want Next.js. We'll click the Next.js. You can see what are the requirements here, how to install the dependencies and how to create a component here. We'll follow it, but first let us write the note picker component. Here first, let us call the note picker component, and then here we are going to start with a form field. As you can see in our deployed link, this is the form field where we will means where we are adding. If I write something here, this is a form field and we have to add it here, that we are form submitting the form. Here we'll write the style for the form, max width of 3 XL with full read, display grid, place items, center, margin auto, with a padding of 10, padding top, and with a margin bottom of 10. This will be our note speaker heading, which have a text 3 XL, a text center, and the color is sky, and a margin bottom 10. If you save it here, you can see this is what we have done till now. Next, for the input field, I want it to be the Tiptap text editor. So let us go to the Tiptap docs and do the npm install of the Tiptap editor. As our installation is completed, now let me put the component here. This is our Tiptap component that we have created. We will import it first. It's imported in the top. And here I'm going to pass two props. One is the content and other is the onChange function. Let me first define the two here. First will be the use state, another will be the onChange function. Here we call the use state. You can see I have defined the use state content and set content and defined the type as string, and for handle content change I have placed the content there inside the set content. Okay. This error is coming because we haven't configured the Tiptap till yet, so next we'll do that. If we mention the two props here, you can see our error from the note picker is gone. Now let us first configure our editor. To configure, we will be following the docs here. That is how to create a new component. Like after the installation, we're going to create this editor, configure this editor part. So let me copy the code, total code, and we'll do the changes accordingly. Okay. Here our two props will be there. Our onChange and content prop is here, and let us save it. Now you can see this error in the terminal is coming because in Note Picker we have used the use state, but we have not defined the use client. That is, in Next.js, if you are using the state, then you should define the component as the client component. If I do this, you can see the error is now gone. So next, we'll change this editor according to our need. Now we'll not need the content here, so we'll remove it. Rather, we will be using editor props. You can see here, I close this. This is the editor props. Inside there is an attribute where I have defined the class and I have written all the Tailwind CSS customization classes because I want to decorate our editor using the Tailwind CSS. So I have used here all the Tailwind CSS classes. There is display flex, flex call, padding, then there is justify, content start, border, in right, in left, then border gray 700, text gray 400, item start. So there are multiple CSS classes. Next, we are going to add the onChange function. First, above the editor, we are going to create a function named handleChange. In this handleChange function, I am accepting a new content prop of string, and on onChange, I am passing the new content. Okay. This handleChange function I will be using inside the editor. When the content will change, it will pass the HTML inside the handleChange function. And from the handleChange function, I am passing the content prop to the note picker onChange function. Okay. Here we are going to send the means on submit of the form. We are going to send this data to local storage for storing. So this way our props are getting passed. Now we are going to return a div here. Inside the div, there is a toolbar here, and toolbar is also having some props, that is the editor prop and the content. And this editor content is the main where we are pasting or writing our notes. Here for the editor content, I want to add a style first, that is white space is equal to preline. This is specially used because when I am pasting the lorem ipsum or any other line is decorated, that format should maintain. So for that, you have to use this style, that is white space preline, so that it maintains its format. So now let me import the toolbar, and this type will remove when we will write the props here inside the toolbar. So our TipTap component is almost ready here. Let us move to our toolbar component. Now to start with the toolbar component, first I need to download a library for the icons, that is Blueside React. This is a very good library for the React icons, and here I want to import a bunch of their icons. See here the bold, strike through, italic, list, list ordered, heading to, underline, quote, undo, redo code. So yeah, I have implemented a bunch, or you can see imported a bunch of Lucid React icons. Now I'll define the props. Now the toolbar, the props that is receiving in the toolbar is this mentioned here, the editor and the content. So let us write here the props. Now this props will have a specific type which we'll define here. The type props will have an editor which will follow a type of editor or null, and the content will be string. Now this editor we will import it from the TipTap. So the type editor is been imported from the TipTap React, and now all the errors or the red lines are gone. Save this. Here, if the editor is null, then I don't want anything to return. Okay. If there is no editor, then the toolbar shouldn't exist only. So this is a just normal check. Next, let me add some styles here. Some basic styles like padding, border radius, display flex, justify between, align items start, gap, and with full, and the flex wrap, border. So these are some basic styles. Next, we'll go to the specific buttons. another div to wrap up all the button. Here, this div will have a display flex, justify start, item center, gap 5 with full, and for LG the width will be 10 by 12 and a flex wrap. Now we are going to write our first button. So if you focus on this part of the button, you can see the button has an on click function here where like whenever we click a button, there is a tendency to refresh the page. So to prevent it from refreshing, I have used e.prevent default, and this part is our main functional part, that where this part will show that editor.chain.focus. This is our toggle bold and dot run. So this function is the TipTap function, which will help us to toggle from like the content from bold or not bold. Okay. So to toggle this on click function will help. This is the basic class name where if the editor is active, that whenever I'm clicking the bold button, then there should be a different background color to show that this button is active. Elsewise, it will have no background and just a text of sky. Okay. So this is the class name part to show between the active and non-active. And this is the main functional part of the button where you are doing this chain.focus.toggleBold.run. Here, to find the bold function, I have used this bold blue side react icon and called it between the button. So let's save it and show you guys how does our first button looks like. You can see here, this is our first button, and if I click, it will like show this background, and if I again click, it will go back to its state. Like this, we are going to create all of our buttons. In the main site, you can see there are so many buttons here. We're going to create it one by one. So our bold button is done. Next, we'll create our italic button. This is our italic button. We are almost using the same function as there is a change in the on click here. It is change.focus.toggle italic for now and then dot run. Elsewise, almost all the code is same and the icon is different here. I'm using the italic. Next, there will be our underline button and so on. Now I have added all the buttons here. Let me go through the code. Most of the button codes are almost equal, just there is a minimum change of the function. So I have pasted down. Here, this is the bold button. You can see the main function is editor.chain.focus.toggleBold.run. Next is our italic button, where the toggle italic function has only changed, rather all the like on click function or the class name is same. Next, there is a strike through button, a heading button, the unordered bullet list button, the ordered number list button, also the block code, the undo, the redo. All these buttons are present here, and these functions are the inbuilt functions in the Tiptap editor. So it's very easy to call those functions and apply it in our buttons. So let me just check our localhost. You can see all our buttons are here. Just one button is missing till now, that is the underline part, for which we have to download or you can say install another library, TipTap library for the underline function. Now here, let me paste the underline button, then you will understand what's the library we have to install. You can see if I write here the toggle underline, it will show that the toggle underline does not exist on the chained commands because the underline function is not present in this TipTap React library. We have to install another library of TipTap only for the underline function. So let's go to our TipTap component, and here First, let us install the underline extension of Tiptap. As the installation is completed here, we are going to import the underline from tiptap slash extension underline and we'll pass it inside the code editor extensions. As we save it here, if we now go to the toolbar, you can see toggle underline error has been removed. You can see in our localhost the underline option has been added. Like if I click it here, you can see the underline option is there. Now, if we go to our main deployed link, we can see here an add button is also present. We'll quickly add that, then our toolbar function is completed. We'll move to the below part, and where our div is getting ended, we are going to write the button. And see if our content prop is present, like if there is any content in the editor, then only this button will show. So this is a type submit button with some basic styles, and there is the add heading. If I save it and go to the local host, if I write something here, then you can see this add button. And if there is nothing in the editor, then the add button will remain hidden. So our toolbar code is completed. Next, let's go to our note picker and save our form data in the local host. Now, inside note picker, let us write our onSubmit handler. Here, let us write the const function. Now, for the handle submit function, I have written from prevented the refresh there and have created a new object where I have used an ID and the content. Now, for the ID, I have to install the UUID. So, let us quickly install that. Let's import the UUID here. You can see here that could not find the module. As we are using TypeScript, we must also install the types of UUID. Now the error is gone as we have installed the types. So we are first going to check the console if our data is getting in the console or not. Let me copy some paragraph from Lorem Ipsum, maybe this much. Paste it. Let me type something. It's working fine. Let me add some styles like bold, italic, underline all together. And let me click add button. So if I go to the console, you can see this is the object here and this is the content showing here. Okay, the content is actually have all the HTML code. So this is a great thing. Our note picker or is working fine. Now we have to store it in the local storage. Now, when we storing in the local storage, we must keep in mind that we are going to store an array of objects there. So after storing one object, we are going to again update that array and store another object as we go on adding our nodes. So with keeping that in mind, we'll first check if there is an existing data string by doing local storage.getItem myData. The array will get stored in the name of my data here. Next, we'll check if the existing data string is present, then we have to parse the data or there will be a new empty array will be created. Finally, we will update the data with using a spread operator. We will update our new data there if there is an existing string. and we'll set it in the local storage, the JSON format. Lastly, we'll make our set content empty. So our state has been returned to its initial state. So our node picker component is almost done. Let us check if our data is getting stored in our the local storage or not. Let me write something here. Let us solve it out. We add some styles and add it here. Let us check the storage. If we go to local storage, you can see here my data is present. Okay. My data with an ID is there and the content is there. Now, let us quickly parse this data and display it on our screen. Now, to parse the data, we will be writing our code in the notes component. Let us first call the notes in our main home page. Inside the notes component, I want to call a use state and a use effect hook. First, let me import this too. Here, I have defined a use state, data, and set data. Inside the use effect, I am calling my data item or the my data object array. And if I'm checking here that if the existing data string is present, then we are going to do listen.parse existing data string. And inside the set data use state, I am passing the existing data. And this whole use effect is called one time as our dependency array is empty. Inside the div element, I'm going to put a little style here that is a max width of 6 XL and the margin auto and padding of left and right is 5. Now I want to display my notes in a masonry style. The masonry style of the data means that whenever I am adding any of the notes, there will be no gap in between. Like a note may be this long for the first note, or it may be this short for the second note. But the gap between these two must be filled. So this type of layout is known as the masonry layout. Now to follow this, I'm going to download a library or you can say install a library there that is React Masonry. We are going to use the React Responsive Masonry NPM where it is mostly used here. You can see for the pictures like some Pinterest pictures where we can see different layouts there. And this is quite easy to apply also. Implement in the code is easier. So let us do this. Let us use it, copy, paste it in our terminal, copy and paste in our terminal. Our package is installed. Let us go to notes. Here we'll import masonry and responsive masonry from React Responsive Masonry. Here again there is a TypeScript error where you have to save the types here. So just copy from here and paste it in the terminal. So our types are installed and the error is also gone. Now let us implement it. Responsive machinery is mainly used for the breaking points of different devices. Like for mobile view, only one column is required. For the laptop view, a three column will be displayed. So for this easiness, we use the responsive machinery. Next, we'll use the machinery component. Here, We're going to map out the object that we are getting from the local storage here. Inside the set data, we will map out our data. Here is our map function where we have an item and the index number. Add a div here with, of course, key is equal to index. Now, in our deployed link, you can see here each node has a heading. You can see node 1, node 2, node 3. So for that heading, we are going to use index to number our heading. As the index value of the array starts from 0, so plus 1 is added. So when the first element is added, it must display as node 1. Next, for parsing the main content of the node, I want to use a self-closing div tag. Here, I want to set a property of the div that is dangerously set inner HTML to the item content. This will automatically read the HTML and display only the specific styles accordingly. So we don't have to use any other third-party parser for styling the element here. For this error here, to remove it, you have to use the use client as we are using the hooks, and the error is gone. Now let me quickly add some style in our content. Now for the styles here, from the white space pre-line to rounded LG, this all are the Tailwind CSS classes which I have applied. The prose mirror is solely dedicated some specially customized CSS class for the Tiptap Editor. Now if you want to write some customized CSS which is like not present in the Tailwind and you want to customize your app using the cascading CSS. So here in global.css, you can actually write your customized CSS part. Here I have written the prose mirror, have used it and have mentioned a few CSS styles according to me, which I want to customize it. You can go through this part. I'll provide you the link of my GitHub code and you can go through this CSS part. So let us move back to the notes and we have completed the class name part here. Now, one thing that we have missed it, that is in our deployed link, our nodes are following some color structure. That is, colors are coming randomly and beautifully. It's making it more visually presentable. So to apply this, let us first write the color array. This is a small CSS part which can actually make your display presentable. Here, I took a bunch of colors. That is an array of like almost 5 colors here. Now I'll implement these colors in my inside my div. For the color to randomly occur inside my first div here, where the key is been taken, I'll write the style here where I want the text color to follow like whenever the length of the color and the index number, I'm doing mod there so that it randomly make a circular round of the array. That is after completing the 5 colors there, then it again start from the first color. So it keeps on changing. The number of posts we make, it goes round and round. So yeah, this is a way where how we can actually show multiple colors there. Also, I want the note heading to maintain the same background color. So yeah, the previous one was only for the text color, and for the note also the background color. I want to follow it in the same matter. Okay? Same way it should change the color according to the post. So our note component is done. Now let us go and check. So now let's check how our Note Speaker localhost app is working here. Here let me write out. So I wrote here my new tutorial. Now let me add it. You can see my note has been added here with the color here. Now let's add something else. Now let me add this random note here and let's check how it's working. You can see notes are getting added and our machinery layout is getting followed or not. Let's add a few more notes. You can see our machinery layout is getting followed as there are different sizes of the notes that is I'm writing and it's getting stored in a really good manner. So this is how our note speaker app is working, the way you can implement your text editor in any of your Next.js application. Now, this implementing the text editor really seems easy right now. I hope you all understood the process. If you haven't understood, I'll definitely share my GitHub code. You can go through it. You can customize your CSS according to your choice. Also, you can comment down below if you have any doubts or any comment regarding this project. Till then, this is Annie signing off. Let's meet in another new project.